Hello, this is Cotton Stoops, and today's HTUC video is on Himbrr. I have neglected this Lumion for quite a while, but I do realize how good this actually is, so let's talk about it. From the counters and checks and teammates that you'll have to know for Himbrr, as well as the roles and sets that Himbrr has, and of course, the weaknesses, resistances, and the offensive coverage that Himbrr can have in order to use those roles and sets. Today's video is all about how to use and counter Himbrr. So the first thing you need to know is the role that Himbrr plays, and this is a very easy question to answer with its base stats. The base stats for Himbrr is very simple because only your range attack and speed is only the bad ones. 65 range attack, of course, never use it, and that speed tier of 45, I'm pretty sure you're in the range of Setamars, but as far as I know, investing in that speed tier is not really that great. You do have some good energy, melee attack, and range defense, all being above 70. However, because of how low your range defense is compared to other Lumions, you might not do so well against Lumions that can hit you super effectively. And of course, its HP and melee defense being its best stats. You have 124 HP, which makes your melee defense really high, and of course, it does make up for that range defense weakness. Although you are still weak to range hits, you are not as weak to range hits as some other Lumions. And as for Himbrr's defensive typing, you only have 3 resistances to air, toxic, typeless, and an immunity to electric. This immunity to electric is really good as for all earth types, especially for a bulky earth type that can hit very hard. This electric immunity helps you switch in on the likes of Halvantic, Metatoad, and Zulong and Phagenaut, which is very common in the metagame. You also have the ability to switch in on Zeppelin, Wintrix, Stratosaur, and the Gargolems with your 3 resistances, and the ability to switch in on toxic types, specifically Barblast and Venolin. However, just because you are an earth type, it doesn't mean you cannot escape these weaknesses. Your water and plant weaknesses carry over with your defensive typing, and you get 3 new weaknesses added with fire, brawler, and metal. Fire types aren't as common as water types because you do have to watch out for the common Fiskarna, Luminami, and Barblast. You also do have to watch out for plant types like Totab and the possible Chartiki and Nevermare. You also do have to watch out for brawler types like C.B.O, which is the only common brawler type, and I guess you can count Barbadger. And its metal type weakness is only really against Tyrex and Stratosaur. However, Himbrr's offensive typing can hit 8 super effective types, all those being fire, electric, toxic, metal, plant, earth, bug, air. This is almost all of Himbrr's defensive weaknesses, so this means that Himbrr can threaten most of the Lumions that can hit it super effectively. And of course, because of its coverage is super good, no single or double typing can resist both of its coverage. So, what's the role for Himbrr? Well, basically, Himbrr can be a bulky Lumion with great defensive utility, and it has strong coverage, being able to hit really hard with no investment, or not as much investment as the other Lumions in its role. Being able to run Himbrr as a defensive and offensive Lumion. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Himbrr's set. So Himbrr's set is going to be very simple. It is going to be an offensive bulky set that will not focus on speed, but rather its HP and melee attack. Your ability of choice will be Awakening. This is mainly so you can boost your stabs even further, and because Staunch is not really as good because there are not a lot of moves or abilities that can decrease your stats that are common enough to be able to use Staunch, and because Himbrr does have that 98 base melee attack, we need to hit as hard as possible even with our strong coverage. You hit very good with very brawny, so you again make that melee attacks that very much so higher, and your personality of choice will be clumsy and sluggish. The reason why we're not running tender or foolish instead of sluggish is because Himbrr really wants to take hits, and running either of those personalities will hurt Himbrr's chances. And as for the items, Health Amulet or the Earth Essence can be beneficial. You can of course run other stuff like the milkshake if you do not want to utilize Himbrr's defensive utility with the health amulet, and the earth type because it is really strong and will be getting stronger once, levitate happens. Earth will be plenty good for your Himbrrr. You can of course run shells or pearls depending on what you choose, but I think these items are the best of choice. And the moveset will be Earthquake, Ice Hammer, Quick Punch, and Icicle Trap. The reason why we're not running Yeti's Wrath here is mainly because we do not want to get locked into a move, and because once we get locked into a move, the opponent gets free setup with whatever air type they bring in. For example, a Wintrix, Zeppelin, or Stratosaur can really kill your Himbrrr's and your Himbrrr's team's chances of winning. And finally, the sets. The energy is to use 5 Earthquakes, which is pretty good. 200 HP and melee attack is to, of course, max out our most important stats. And the 80 range defense are leftovers to try and increase our lower defensive stat. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Himbrrr's offensive counters and checks, and of course, its teammates. Offensive counters and checks are really simple for Himbrrr just because Himbrrr has a lot of weaknesses and is very slow. A lot of the Lumions here, and of course a lot of the Lumions that have the moves to hit Himbrrr super effectively, like fire type moves and metal moves, can hit Himbrrr super effectively and are effectively good offensive Lumions to hit Himbrrr. These are just some that came up to my head. Brawler types like Totab, C.B.O, and Barbadger are going to be great against Himbrrr. Fire types like Volkaloa and Ikazune will also be good for Himbrrr. And plant types like Baneki and Totab will hit Himbrrr super effectively. You can of course use other metal types like Celesting or Valkyrie to hit Himbrrr super effectively, but generally you want to use the OU staples because Himbrrr is really strong in OU, and unless you do not use OU Lumions, then Himbrrr is going to be stomping on your team very hard. You also do have defensive counters and checks for Himbrrr, which is, like I said, very simple. You just want to run stuff that can wall Himbrrr completely. Stuff like Tundulant and Luminami will be your best answers, and more niche options like Viscarna and Barblast will also be good. Do note that Barblast does get hit super effectively by Earthquake. However, Barblast is bulky enough to survive at least 1 or 2 to hit Himbrrr back with high explosive boosted Water Bomb. And of course, Viscarna is also here. It's more of the passive options, but you can of course choose to run Peace of Mind to set up on Himbrrr, or just get rid of the Icicle Traps and other stuff threatening with your regift. Your Snack is more of a Lumion that can resist Himbrrr's coverage, but it's not really the best option because there are other better pivots like Luminami and Phasenaut. And Stratosaur is also here mainly because it is immune to Earthquake still. That will change for the Levitate update though. So offensive teammates for Himbrrr is very simple. You just want to run stuff that can hit the water types that it gets walled by, and general stuff like melee wall breakers or melee walls that can wall Himbrrr. For example, Deldrix, Ikazune, and Totab all are pretty good against the stuff that gets walled by. All of these guys do hit the stuff like Barblast, Luminami, and Viscarna all super effectively. And of course, you can use off-meta options like Baneki or Nevermere if you want to do something funky. However, more defensive options like Phasenaut and Metatoad are a lot more simple, mainly because Metatoad is a lot more bulky. It can help you in a more bulky offense-style team. And Phasenaut, it's just good for everything, so Himbrrr actually benefits from Phasenaut a lot. So, with the end of the video, hopefully you enjoyed enough to like the video and subscribe for more videos like this. And of course, remember that Zulong is still a dumpster fire.